Hi, I'm Brian Jordan, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
So I got a call that said, this is Susan Bailey. And I said, yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know a Susan Bailey. She goes, I'm Henry Aaron's secretary. And I went, yeah. She goes, Henry would like to talk to you. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, how would you like to fly down to Sarasota and look at our pictures? And I said, I would love to. He said, well, when can you do it? Jokingly, I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, we'll take care of that. I'll meet you at the airport in Atlanta. Susan will have the arrangements. And then I get on a plane with Hank Aaron and fly down to Sarasota. He offers me a job, and I said, well, what team do you want me to manage? He goes, no, he wants you to be a pitching coach.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Most guys throw it this way. The ball back in here, hands come around, and these two fingers come into the ball. And stiff wristed, no follow throw, and just a little up and goes in the bat. I hope there's no rotation on. The ball comes in there and doesn't bother. It doesn't never do the same thing twice.
This is Kyle Wright, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
One of my favorite moments for your career as of right now is actually this past week. It was a show of confidence by Brian Snicker. He left you in the game after bases were loaded. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I went back and I saw that clip on Instagram several times. I'll be honest, I went back and I watched it numerous times. Kind of gave me chills a little bit. It was just really cool. I was kind of lost my command a little bit there. Still made some good pitches, but was definitely getting a little tired. So whenever he said, basically left me in the game, I feel like that kind of gave me what I needed to get me over the hump to make a good pitch, get a ground ball back to me, and get out of that inning.
This is Matt Olson. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. What a game we're coming out of. The second game of the series between the Braves and the Mets. Chris Sale, what a performance. 8 2/3 pitched. No earned runs, no runs at all given up by Sale there. 7 strikeouts, 5 hits. He was absolutely untouchable. You got to love that. Wish he could have finished the game, no doubt, but not to mention the play there in the 9th inning to start off with the first out. So great day for him. Obviously, he's looking in prime Cy Young form. And hopefully that'll carry on. Offensively, the Braves were scoring runs left and right. Acuna started off the game with the first pitch that he saw over the center field fence. Olson homered. Great day to be a Brave, no doubt about it. Able to take the series against the Mets and take the win today. They'll look for the sweep tomorrow. But yeah, great day for the Braves, solid win for the Braves. And I told you prior to this game, prior to this series, that this series was going to kick off the most important stretch of the year for the Braves. Of course, following tomorrow's game and following this series, the Braves will head down to Miami to take on the Marlins. Following that, they'll have a 4-game series in Citi Field with the Mets. That'll be a huge series. Could really swing the National League East on its head if the Braves show up like they did so far in this one. And then again, they will take on the Phillies. So big set of series here, 4 series in a row, not only against division rivals, but really a chance, possibly the last chance for the Braves to swing the division in their favor. So big day for Atlanta. I don't want to discount that. The momentum in the division, all of what that counts for. And frankly, to do it against the Mets is always a fun time. But that just kicks off this coverage because I don't just want to talk about the game. I want to talk about a little bit more than that. We heard from Alex Anthopoulos this morning, and I knew as soon as it came out that Alex Anthopoulos had some things to say, I was going to speak on that. So in the next segment, we're going to talk about his appearance on 680 The Fan. We're going to basically tell you what we took away from it, what the trade deadline could look like based on what we heard, and also basically just where do we go from here. There's a lot to take in, so we're going to go through that. But prior to that, Danny Williams brings up a good point in the chat. Got to leave him in. I don't disagree. Today's baseball, you get past 100 pitches, eyebrows start to get raised, hair starts standing up on the back of necks, especially with a guy like Chris Sale who's battled injury before. He wanted to finish that game. I wanted him to finish that game, but just wasn't able to do it. Had it been a no-hitter, I'd feel a little bit more strongly. Had it been a perfect game, I'd feel a little bit more strongly. And, he's got to feel like with Spencer Schwellenbach getting that complete game the other day, like, man, I want to show that I'm the guy here. I want to show that I can contribute. And nothing taken away from what he did today, but it doesn't happen all the time. It was also against a first-place team. So, again, what a performance by Chris Sale in this matchup. The Braves needed it. They got it. The offense showed up. And it finally feels like we're going somewhere. It finally feels like the Braves are turning a corner here. They got some momentum. The offense is rolling. Your pitching is showing out, especially starting pitching. Rysel was able to get the job done today, thank goodness, and obviously we'll go from there. On the Go with CeeLo joins us, and of course, a lot of you guys may be joining us directly from the On the Go with CeeLo stream. We appreciate him doing the redirect straight to us. It helps us start with a solid audience, so we really do appreciate that. And of course, we're trying to grow our channel, so if you're out there and you haven't already, please do like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. CeeLo, thank you very much for always being supportive. Really appreciate that as well. But On the Go with CeeLo tells us in the chat that the Frank the Tank rant is great, so I'll have to go on my TikTok and find the Frank the Tank rant because I'm sure it's doing well. They're probably going to lose 48 games in a row, according to him, and they're looking feeble, as he would say, and then he would go and bite on his, on his shirt. So I'm not going to do that here, but it is pretty entertaining for Braves fans. That said, Danny Williams is like, look, man, you're up by 5 runs. Why not give it to him? I get it, but the other thing is you don't want to necessarily just completely. You don't want to run the risk of him somehow giving up a couple runs to the Mets and making it, a chance. To me, though, with 2 outs, I think you're right. I think it's more about the exertion that he's putting on that arm. They don't want to risk that. That's more along the lines of what I think it is. That said, though, guys, I really want to focus on the 680 The Fan interview this morning with Alex Anthopoulos because I have quite a bit to say about it. I was going to – it's funny, I'm looking at my script, and I always do key takeaways from stuff like this, and I start by numbering them. And normally it's like 4 or 5. I just want to show you how much are on these pages. It's like 15 takeaways. But I'm not going to – I promise this will not be, a church service that goes past noon. We're going to get these done fairly quickly. The first thing I noticed was before I even heard anything in the interview – the timing of when that interview came out. It was very strategic because, first off, it came off in the middle of the day, got people talking, probably got the team talking. But on top of that, it was coming off of a game where you walked it off against the first-place team in the division, the New York Mets, also the team that you're playing right now. It's a good time to do it where Braves fans will be open to listening, if that makes sense. Number 2, the biggest takeaway is that the Braves are not selling. Now, we have presented the idea that the Braves could sell, which is technically still up in the air, even though he said this, because he basically put it with a caveat. If they got 30 games back of the division or back of the wild card, obviously you'd have to readjust and maybe figure some things out, but he doesn't believe that they're there, and nor do I. I presented the idea of you being a soft seller where you could sell a Marcell Ozuna. You could trade him off for, some MLB-ready talent, and really focus on 2026 and beyond, because I don't know where the payroll really sits with the luxury tax. But the main thing he said was we're not selling, right? We're not going to trade away Chris Sale. We're certainly not going to trade away anybody that had years of control beyond this year, which that does not include Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna is a free agent at the end of the season. That could change, but he is a free agent at the end of the season as of now, which is why his name keeps getting tossed around. He also specifically brought up a report that I found pretty interesting, by name pretty much. He said there was a report that Marcell Ozuna and Sean Murphy were offered up, I guess, for a Devers trade or some kind of a trade. He basically said there was no credence to that, there was no reality to that, and it should just be scoffed at because that's not even realistic. And I don't disagree with that. I didn't put a lot of stock into that whole idea either. And this is where I guess Alex Anthopoulos and I disagree. He said that the offense is the number one issue, which I don't disagree with. I have always said this year that I thought the biggest problem was the bullpen. And the reason I said it was because you couldn't address the offense from a front office perspective. You couldn't really trade away at least that many pieces in your offense. All right, you could improve at shortstop, you could improve in the outfield, but you're not going to trade away those staple guys in your infield. You're not going to trade away Acuna, that kind of thing. You're probably not going to trade Ozuna. So what do you really do with the offense? How do you really improve the offense? You have to ride or die from a front office perspective. To me, the number one problem has been the bullpen, because that's the one thing that you can improve by moving pieces around, because there's not a lot of strings holding it together, right? You can trade and move how you see fit. The offense is a little bit more troublesome to do that with. You have to kind of rely, and he spoke about this, on internal improvement, right? Improving with the coaches and the players and getting guys better and performing better, right? That's how he sees it, and I don't disagree with that. The number one problem is the offense. I've never argued that it was a problem, but it was a problem to me that you couldn't solve in a trade situation, which is why when I present to you, I am always presenting to you how can the front office improve this team. That's always been my mindset. And that's how I saw it, was that the only way to improve it is by improving it internally. There's no doubt there. And he said that everybody in the clubhouse knows it's a problem and is trying their best to address it. But again, my whole perspective on this has always been you have to just let them figure it out. You can't trade away your guys that you have locked up for 10 years or the next 5 years or the next 3 years, because you'd be completely dismantling the team. And I don't believe that the Braves are anywhere close to that, and nor does Alex Anthopoulos. He said, he takes it personally to make a good team. An interesting quote that I marked down here. He personally, he's been with the Braves, I think, now for like 8 years. He's been in the playoffs for the past 10. So he takes it personal to be into the postseason, right? He, as a personal challenge, he always wants to be in the playoffs. He will not be a seller, maybe to his own detriment to some degree, but he views it as a challenge every year to be in the playoffs, as does every general manager. But he's always said, even with the low spots, even with the worst of times, they've always made it into the playoffs. And to that point, they made it in there last year with a whirlwind of injuries, right? More than they've had, I think, probably in the history of the Braves, in one single season anyway. But they are active right now. He didn't say who they were going after, but he is trying to make a trade in the month of June so that he can signal to everybody, and by everybody he means us, he means the team, he means other teams, other front offices. We are not selling. We are buying at the deadline. We want to be in a position to contend at the deadline. Now, again, if the team were to just completely fall off a cliff, that might change. Right now, though, it's looking like, hey, we got some momentum here, right? Maybe an interview like this or a conversation like this could spark something, and we may be seeing the benefits of that. But he's signaling to everybody, we're still in this, we're still competitive, I still believe in the product we're putting on the field. That is what a general manager is supposed to do. That's why he's one of the best in the game, and I like what he said today. The Jock Peterson move got brought up. I want to say it was Domino that brought it up, and he basically said, do we need a Jock Peterson type move now? And Alex Anthopoulos spoke very highly of Jock Peterson. He talked about the energy that he brought and that kind of thing. I think it would be a really good thing to do, especially not Jock Peterson per se, but someone of that caliber and that level of a move to just signal to everybody, hey, we're still here. We're still going to contend, and we're still going to fight to win the division and possibly, obviously try to win the wild card at least. He spoke about Snit. He said Snit's done a great job. And he used a word that I think fits Snitker and Snitker-run clubhouses to a T. He said it's stable, which at a time like this is important because it's easy to be stable when you're winning. It's very easy to be stable when you're winning. It's hard to be stable when you're losing. Snit has been able to keep a consistent face on this. He's been able to, be the same manager that he's always been, which I know some of you don't like, but he basically reiterated that Snit is doing everything that the organization wants him to do. And I think we all need to take a step back and try not to blame managers. I've said a long time, going now that being manager is a thankless job. And when you're doing good, nobody says anything. Nobody gives you the pat on the back. But when you're doing bad, they sure are ready to run you over. So just putting that out there. Something else he said, Jurix and Profar, this was interesting because we've had a lot of things that we were just unsure about. Jurix and Profar was one of them. Jurix and Profar, of course, got caught with the fertility drug, labeled as performance enhancing. We don't know the full story on that, not really. I'm curious to see if he does any kind of press on that and addresses it publicly, because we haven't heard really his side of it other than the statement released by the Players Association. We may never. But Anthopoulos spoke about it. He said he's had conversations with Profar and he's had conversations with the league. He got more context about it. And basically the reason he was saying this was because he was asked, is Profar going to get a second chance or a clean slate? And Anthopoulos said yes. And he used a comparison that I've used actually on this channel. He compared Marcell Ozuna's situation, the biggest turnaround in baseball. And he's not going to give up on who Profar is as a player because of one misstep. And there's something to be said for that. And I'm not necessarily against it. I like Jurix and Profar as much as anybody. I liked the move when it happened. I thought we should do more, but I liked the move when it happened. He's a great player. We saw it in the playoffs last year. And I'll tell you this, he fits in the clubhouse. I've been in the clubhouse at spring training. He definitely fit in. There is truth to that. But, at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's the 100% right fit. Right? And I'm curious to see how long before we hear from Profar, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited that he is getting a second chance. That means the Braves believe in him, because for a lot of guys, PED, even if you're on a contract, that may mean that, come trade deadline, we're moving you. We're not necessarily going to try to keep you or anything like that. So for him to get that second chance says a lot about who they think Profar is as a player and as a person. So just nice to know that they're giving him a clean slate. And it's nice as a fan, frankly, to have a general manager get out front of a lot of these issues and just say what it is, candidly, right? He can't say everything. He doesn't want to release everything. But at a time like this where it's full panic mode amidst the fans, finding out, number one, what our intentions are at the deadline, being, I guess we're maybe 6 games back of the wild card now, depending on whatever the Padres did tonight. We're that far back, and we're this far back in the division. To hear a guy, come out and basically say, look, I know this season has not turned into what we hoped it would or what we thought it would, but we are still competing. We are not running away from that. To hear that, to hear a very candid opinion on Jurickson Profar, that he is going to get a clean slate, and the comparison to Marcell Ozuna fits very well here. And I know it's not exactly the same, but it is off the field issues, and it won't be the first, it won't be the last. He's still a very talented player, and he's still a very good person. To hear that kind of thing from Alex Anthopoulos is nice. That said, he also addressed some of the biggest problems on the team outside of just the generic offense answer. He gave a definitive answer on the shortstop situation. Nick Allen. He said that he thinks Nick Allen is one of the best defensive shortstops in the game. He actually said he's probably the best defensive shortstop in the game. I don't disagree. He made a couple plays this past week. The double play he made the other day, I believe against Colorado, was fantastic. He's a solid glove. There's no denying that. If the Gold Glove wasn't based on offense, Nick Allen would have a very good shot. But it is based on offense. Ask a lot of the former guys. But the bullpen was also brought up, and I was surprised by this. He came out and he basically said Reisel's stuff this year is not measured up. That's not a surprise. But he said he's going to turn it around. He goes, and that will kind of fix the pen. That will kind of figure out, the bullpen. That will get everything into place. I think they could still add in the bullpen. I really do, and I don't know who's out there. I guess I could start looking, but I don't know who's out there. But I just think that if there's anywhere you want to add at the deadline, I mean, you could add a bat, but you're getting Profar back. He can at least help you get to the playoffs. In terms of the bullpen, though, we could add. There's guys that just aren't dependable, and obviously, when Ronaldo Lopez comes back, you could potentially add him to the pen. But even then, I'd want some guys that are a little bit more locked down and good to go. But that said, all that taken into account, there was a lot to take from the 22 minutes that he spoke on 680 this morning. I thought it was all very well put. I thought it was all very well put together. And at a time like this, I know you guys love to hear from me. To hear from Alex Anthopoulos and get some real answers is great. I mean, credit to 680, credit to Domino and everybody over there. I would have loved to have talked to him and asked him some questions, but credit to him because they really did nail every little thing that Braves fans want to know. And I thought that was very, very spot on. They held him on probably longer than he wanted to be, but credit to him for getting that interview and making that happen. If you could, guys, please do like the stream. We certainly would appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. When we return, we're going to get through your comments and certainly would appreciate putting them in. Remember, Super Chats do get priority, and they really do help the channel. We'll be right back.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. We got some super chats in the chat. First from Jonathan Roberson. Hearing AA speak the way he did was incredibly refreshing, and it had me wanting to run through a wall for him. Yeah, no doubt about it. He got to be candid, right? And that's rare. 680 does a really good job of number one, landing the interviews, because getting a guy at AA's level, he doesn't have to do any media. He could issue a tweet and be done with it, right? But to get a guy who is running the team, answer questions about what he's potentially doing at the trade deadline, especially with how tight-lipped those front office folks have been over the past number of years, was very impressive. He wouldn't have done an interview with anybody else. 680 is the only option there. It's the only option that he's going to feel comfortable. Well, I say it's the only. He might do a few Atlanta, but it'd be rare. That all said, he answered every question very well. And the things he didn't want to talk about, he said, I can't talk about it, or I can't, Profar, for example, there's a lot there that he doesn't know what he can and can't say. That's fair. It's not an open investigation necessarily, but it is a sensitive topic to say the least. But to come out and say we're not selling, that puts everybody on notice immediately, right? That puts players on notice. Hey, we're still competitive right now. And it puts other teams on notice. Hey, the Braves aren't selling. I wonder what they want. I wonder who they're going to go after. I wonder who they might ask us for. It gets the conversation started. It's very strategic and very methodical. But yeah, the way he spoke, if you haven't listened to it, if you're out there and you haven't listened to it, I really encourage you. It's on Twitter. 680 The Fan posted the entire 22-minute clip. It's worth the time. Just put your headphones on, take a walk, and listen to what this man has to say, because as good as it is hearing from me what he says and how he says it, you'll get where I'm coming from. I was very impressed by the way he came across. One Ron says, I hope Ozzie doesn't have to miss any time. I don't think he will. I mean, not any substantial time for sure. I saw him go down. I know he got hit by the pitch. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's any substantial time. I think he's going to be all right. But, that said, crazy things happen. So it's tough to say. I should have probably talked about that in the opening intro. But I was so ecstatic about Chris Sale's day that it kind of just got missed. But, it kind of is what it is. We can talk about trade targets. I'm always open to that. Keep in mind, I've done no research. So if you give me a name, I may be a little hang on, let me see what he's, when does his contract end? What's his stats looking like? That kind of thing. I really got to go through and start digging through and picking out guys and doing those videos. Number one, because those videos are very popular. And number two, the trade deadline is going to be a very important facet of this season based on the conversation Alex Anthopoulos just had with 680. It's going to be very important. And the reason I say that, I've mentioned trade targets. Dwayne Murray says Mason Miller is his first target. The reason you're probably listening to me is because I keep hammering on the bullpen. The bullpen is our biggest question mark. I do not doubt an offense consisting of Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Acuna, Ozzie Albies, and Marcell Ozuna, just those five. I don't doubt an offense consisting of those five guys figuring it out by the end of the year. You add on Michael Harris and Sean Murphy and Baldwin, who's been really good this year. The only one that not to mention you're adding Profar at some point in the next couple weeks. The only one that I'd question is Nick Allen, and Double A spoke about that today too, basically saying that, we know his bat's light. He knows his bat's light. There's no secret there. What he provides is defense, which that was the main reason Orlando Arcia was kept, because back when Von Miller was being contemplated for that chance, the reason he didn't get it was not his bat. It was his defense. Shortstop is still a defense-first position. I've been hammering on the bullpen because I think from a roster standpoint, that is the thing that needs to be fixed first. Your starting pitching's good for the most part. You could add one, especially with Shawver going down, but your bullpen's really where it needs to be fixed. All that said, let's take a look at Mason Miller real quick. And you know what? I should do it on this computer. Hang on just a second. I'm going to pull it up where I can show you here. That way I'm not just talking. How about we do that? By the way, thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you for the super chats. Really do appreciate that. Did I say Von Miller? Did I just say Von Grissom? Von Grissom is what I meant to say. Thank you for that mass boost. I can't believe I just made that mistake. Been a long day, guys. Wedding planning. Sorry. But again, thank you all for being here. Really do appreciate that. And, hopefully you guys will hang around for the whole show. Really do appreciate it. And remember to like the stream if you have not already. Really helps us grow and all that good stuff. So really would appreciate that. You know what? I'm good with turning this into a trade possibility show. I am equipped to do that. We can literally just pull guys out and start looking at stats. So the reason I bring that up, how is this going to do? What is this? That's weird. Hang on a second, guys. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Give me just a second. I'm doing this on the fly. And who am I doing? Dwayne, is this for you? I think this is for Dwayne. All right, let's look at Mason Miller, shall we? All right, Mason Miller. He's got a 5.13 ERA. Not great, to say the least. 14 saves. Let's just keep in mind, everybody, he is on the A's. Let's just keep that in mind. So, as much as we could point out how it could be better, his team could also be better. His organization could be better. The talent is certainly there. I don't know that he'd be my first choice, but it's not a bad pick. Like I said, the talent has always been there and will continue to be, but I don't hate it. But we'll have to see how it goes. Sorry, I guess we might not be able to do this. All right, let's get off of that, shall we? I thought I was equipped to do it. I guess not. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know about Mason Miller with those stats. I'd have to really do a deep dive there. That said, we've traded for people with bad stats before, and they turned out good. Pierce Johnson's a perfect example. Let's go ahead and go through the chat here. Jeff Nelson, you remember when Snit pulled Sean Newcomb in the ninth with a no-hit shutout? Do I remember? I was there. I was in left field recording it, thinking, oh man, this is going to be great for the YouTube channel. I'm going to post this in its entirety, right? And this whole ninth inning, I'm going to post it. And then he gave up the hit. I couldn't believe he got pulled. But, it's just, it doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't. Let's see. David Thrash. Yes, this is a great game. Let's let the Braves go game to game and not look beyond. Easy game. I'm going to look beyond, as much as I hate to say it. I am going to look beyond just because that's how I like to do it. I like to kind of project where we're going because especially when you're behind, right? You like to look at what's ahead so you can map it out. And to me, it seems like the Braves are actually at a point where, number one, it's going to be a time where the Braves could really make a dent in the standings. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings real quick. I don't have them readily available. Ron, we're going to get to your super chat in just a second. I apologize. Let's see, MLB standings. So right now, the Braves are still in third place, 11 games back. They're making a dent. The Phillies are only 1 game back. If nothing else, the Braves could very well push the Mets out of first and push the Phillies into it. They got another 4 games with them, so they got a total of 5 games left. The Braves could get another 5 games on the Mets in the next 2 weeks. They could also put a big dent in the Phillies. They're playing really well right now, and if they can continue that, obviously we're looking solid. One Ron says, just wanted to help the channel. We appreciate that. All super chats help the channel go directly into buying equipment, getting us to places, all that stuff. So really do appreciate that. He wants to know if I got any more info on the trade package for Devers. It makes no sense if AA came out and said we weren't selling. Something doesn't add up. He basically said, I actually wrote down the quote, so maybe I can give you that. Maybe that'll suffice. He came out and said that not a crumb or speck or morsel of it was accurate. So basically what he said was, whatever report came out, quote, you can put 2 and 2 together, that's a quote, none of that was accurate. So he basically called out whatever reporter that was. I'm not privy to the report. I didn't bother to read it because I didn't think with this front office, especially, that something like that would leak. I'm just being real with you. He basically called him out, and just my opinion. Mass boost, David Bednar. I can't pull it up because it's going to make the stream go nuts. Sorry about that. I'll try to fix that for the next episode. David Bednar, let's look at him. I like David Bednar. I wanted us to trade for Bednar a few years ago, but the Pirates just historically have been really tough in trading with. But I've always liked Bednar. He was extremely valuable a couple years ago, and they were kind of right to hold on to him, and he's been really good for them. That said, the Pirates are not exactly doing a whole lot. They are last in their division, 16 and a half games back. The only two bright lights are probably Bednar, Paul Skeens, and I guess McCutcheon occasionally. So not a lot going on in Pittsburgh. He's got 10 saves, 34 strikeouts. Strikeout per walk rate is solid. Strikeout per 9, 12.8. That's solid. Trying to see. Whip is really good, 1100. FIP is really good. So he's not on a good team. FIP is fielding independent percentage. It's basically your ERA if you had perfect fielders, and it's 2.19. His ERA is 3.38, so he's getting kind of shafted by his infield, I imagine. But he could be really good. You'd have control through next year, which is pretty interesting, and not that we have a ton coming back anyway. Martin would be a half-year rental. I like it. Sounds like Dave Roberts got tossed out of a game tonight. That's always a fun time. Let's see. Yeah, I hope Ozzy's fine. I really do. Jeff Nelson says, level out his swing and stop swinging for the fence, stacking up a lot of these guys. Last year, the overall average for MLB was 240. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. Ron, you guys know that the barreled home run rate has gone down for the past 3 seasons. MLB's been messing with the balls. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. They mess with the balls every year. They're either tighter, fatter, softer, whatever. I wish we could just, this is the ball, There's 100 baseballs behind me right now. I guarantee you no ball is the same from year to year, depending on what it is. Now, granted, these are reject balls that you buy at the store, but I'll still sit on that, right? So baseball's got to get the ball situation together. The fact that we're even doubting it is questionable to me. Ron says the Sale diving play was golden. He was pumped to try for this complete game. That's why it was so tough to see him get called out. Like if it was normal, it would have still stunk. But to see him, lay out like that tells me one thing. He and Snit had a conversation. You get one base runner, you're coming out. And sure enough, that's what happened. And he was trying everything not to do that, but is what it is. Dwayne Murray talking about Mason Miller. He recommends him because he might be cheaper than some of the others. I don't think you're wrong there, but I think the A's are at a point now where we've traded a lot with the A's, but I think now they're at a point where they're trying to get as much for what they have because they don't have a ton. And I don't know that we have the prospect capital to cash in on a guy like Mason Miller, to be honest with you. Jeff Berry heard that LA and the Padres had a crazy game. I'm going to have to go watch that. I'm going to have to go see the highlights of that. Dave Roberts was thrown out. Yeah, I'm going to have to go watch that. The Battery. Alex did say that he could understand if the source was bad. Journalists used to demand at least 2 sources. So, full disclosure, I'm a journalist. I don't tell a lot of people that, but I am a journalist, technically. Yeah, you're supposed to have 2 sources. That said, in baseball, I don't like to report stuff like that anyway. It's just, to me, it's shady. Like, he said this in there, that if you're speculating, I've done a million videos like this, where you're basically coming out and saying, I think the Braves should go out and get Ketel Marte. It's not going to happen. But I'm just saying, we've done that video before. Then I can get on here and say it. I may be telling you, hey, here's the situation with Ketel Marte. Here's why it's not going to happen. I've done those videos before. That is completely fine. To me, when you're invading a team and you're saying that, the Braves made offers of Marcell Ozuna, Sean Murphy, and change, I think that's a little invasive, because then the players are then wondering, hey, like is this true? To me, that should just stay in-house. And the Braves are so good about controlling stuff like that I was surprised. Like when I first saw it, I was surprised by, I don't think, until that happens, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're so good at just keeping that stuff in-house that I don't think anything like that would have got out. Turns out I might have been right. So, yeah, Miller has a lot of time on his contract. I agree. Jake Hobby says, evening, everyone. Been a fun last two games. Yeah, the last two games have been a terrific start. And, I got on here. You can probably find the YouTube short. We've been dropping a lot of those lately if you haven't noticed. But you can find the YouTube short that I put out where I was basically like, the next 3 weeks are probably the most important stretch of the year for the Braves. If they're going to turn it around, this is it, right? You lose all 7 to the Mets, you're underwater at that point. You split the 7-game series with the Mets, you're in the same boat you were in. You win them all, this just got kind of interesting, right? I mean, you've already gone from 8 games back. I believe now they're at 6, if I'm not mistaken. Did the Padres win or did they lose? Okay, they're still playing. Dang, he already got thrown out. They're only in the 2nd inning. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tune in and find out what happened after I get off of here. But if the season ended right now, the Braves are 6.5 games back. We'll have to see if the Padres lose tonight. They'll be 5.5 games back in the wild card. So that's pretty interesting. We'll have to see how it goes. But very interesting. And I think, like I said, we'll know after that series with the Phillies. And I'll be at the closing game with the Phillies that Sunday. I want to say that's like the 28th. I'll be at that game. So I'll probably go to the game and then come home and do a stream that night. So just be ready for that. But that will be a date that you can circle on the calendar and go, okay, we're going to know if the Braves are competing for something by that date. Because by that point, you'll have about a month to the deadline. A lot can happen in a month, but you'll know not necessarily if they're going to do it, but you'll know if they have a chance to do it, if that makes any sense. I think by that point, obviously crazy things have happened, but you'll know by that point if we're going to be a contender, if we're going to be active at the deadline, or if we're going to be, standing pat, or if, God forbid, it just goes off the rails, you're selling at the deadline. So I think we're going to find a lot out in the next few weeks. I really do think that. Let's see. Chris Kaysen says, big shout out to the Braves for picking up their pace and play. Love to see the boys playing ball. Yeah, the energy's been a lot better. I don't know what it was. Maybe it just took the Mets coming to town. But they've definitely been a little bit more playing like they used to, I guess. Jamison Taylor tuning in. He's mad Brian Snitker took out Chris Sale. Just remember, he's probably looking out for him, more than likely. College World Series is on. I have not watched it at all today. But yeah, it's on. I don't know what the scores are, but it's on. Let's see. Yeah, LSU is on versus Arkansas. After Auburn got out, I kind of lost interest, to be honest with you. Let's see. Awesome in the outfield. I don't know who you're talking about there. But no. A lot of good defensive plays in the outfield. A lot of good hitting today. Ozzie getting the triple down the right field line. Acuna on the first pitch of the game. Obviously, Olsen. I I think they got a balk for a run earlier. So, it's been pretty solid the past 2 games. But let's just remember it's only been 2 games. So we'll have to see how it goes. Guys, just so you know, there's a lot going on the channel. We're putting out a lot more videos here lately than we've been in quite a while. We're putting out quite a bit more shorts. We're putting out, just short content if we can. The shorts, I don't know how many of you have noticed, but the shorts have been basically a lot of old interviews. The reason is I've discovered AI for the first time in my life. There's a system that will go find little clips of an hour-long interview. So I put in the hour-long interview with Leo Mazzoni, and it cranks out, 10 or 20 shorts from that interview. It's been really convenient, but it's given new life to those interviews in short form, where you can watch it really quick and go, oh, that was interesting, right? So we have a treasure trove, really, of old interviews with Leo Mazzoni, Otis Nixon, Doug Flynn, who tells a really great story. It's on the channel right now. Daryl Cheney, Dale Murphy, Denny McClain will probably come out soon. There's just a lot of really good interviews. So if you see those shorts, make sure to like them. I know it's not what you normally come here for. I know you try to come and talk just Braves baseball, but it is still baseball. It's baseball history. I love doing those interviews. I told you on the last stream we interviewed Frank Thomas. That was insanely cool. But I like talking to anybody that played the game. You can find stories with anybody that played the game. Louis Gomez, who signed the ball somewhere back there behind me, he was a middle infielder for the Braves back in the 70s, and he tells a great story about facing J.R. Richard. He was shaking in his boots, right? And Louis Gomez, not the best player in the world, really good glove, but not the best player in the world. That said, though, he's got stories. He faced Nolan Ryan at one point, that kind of thing. It's a different type of conversation, and you can find really good ones in those interviews. So those are coming out. They're coming out in YouTube Shorts. They're on TikTok. If you don't follow me on TikTok, I think if you search my name, I'll come up. But we are on TikTok. I'll try to put a link in the comments or the chat before we get out of here. But TikTok's a really good place to go. You can follow me on Instagram. I wish I had my lower third ready to go. But you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me pretty much anywhere. But is this it? I don't know what that is. I have lost my lower third. Anyway, you can find a lot of that stuff out there. Check my Twitter. Check my Instagram. If you go on the channel, it's linked. A lot of good content coming out, a lot of good stuff. I want you guys to be aware. I know a lot of times you don't get updates when I post stuff for some reason. YouTube's being weird about stuff like that, but really good content, and would really appreciate you guys checking that stuff out. Dwayne Murray, true about the length on his deal. Mason is the type of contract Alex goes for. I agree. I don't know if he's going to do it with a pitcher, though, especially a relief pitcher, because typically the contracts, look at the long-term contracts on the Braves right now. There's only one that's a pitcher, and it's Spencer Strider. And that's because you don't get a guy like that every now. He also came up in the Braves organization. They didn't even issue a long-term contract to Max Fried, which I do think they tried, even though it never came out. I do think there was at least a conversation had about the interest there. All that said, Mason Miller, very good talent. I don't know if he's got the stats to justify it. I mean, I think Mason Miller could be really good on the Braves. I think if the Braves got him, it would be beneficial to him, but I don't know that it would help him this year. I think that's a project piece because you got to wash off that Oakland green and get him in some Braves colors and make him a Braves pitcher, because right now at the 5 ERA, I just don't know. And granted, I didn't really look at his FIP or any kind of deep stats, but I'd have to really do a deep dive. And we may do that. I don't know how available he's going to be, because if he's available, you may get interest from a lot of other suitors that have a lot more prospects and a lot more to trade to a team like the A's, who all they want right now is the future. That's all they want. They don't want anybody current. They don't want anybody of value right now. They want value in the future. And I don't know that I want to give up, let's just say, a J.R. Ritchie or an Owen Murphy or anybody like that for Mason Miller, right? Because I just don't know if that's the value there, but we'll have to see. The battery seemed like a balk. Yeah, but actually catcher used his mask to pick up ball. Not allowed to do that. Yeah, that's weird. Mass boost. Usually it's deals that are an older player, not players who are pre-R players. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Mass boost with his, appreciate that. His expected ERA is 3.07. So a lot of it's his team. That 5 is mostly his team. The arm is still there. It's still solid. The ERA is solid. I think Bednar is probably more the move, that type of pitcher. But I don't want you to get too mainstream, right? You can look up where I always start with looking at trade potential is I always go to free agents next year, right? I always go to that because that's what usually the deadline's for. You send a guy off who you're not going to have any value in following this season. You're in a losing situation, so you're going to trade this guy off so that you get value for what you had, right? Because otherwise he's just walking away, going to the free agent market. You don't gain anything. Not really. That's what it's for. So that's always where I start. But, I mean, you know, sometimes you get the 3-year trade. I mean, sometimes you get the Chris Sale deal, you know, for Vaughn Grissom. Sometimes. But not most of the time. So, great win tonight, according to Charles Pruitt. Charles, my name's Tyler. It ain't Taylor. That's about the 3rd time you done wrote Taylor. I'm a Tyler. I'm just messing with you. Jameson. Maybe you're talking to Jameson Taylor there in the chat. I'm not sure. But yeah, great chat tonight. Thank you to all of those who have given super chats. One Ron, Jonathan. I really appreciate you guys. I don't think anybody else did, but really do appreciate you guys. They do help the channel drastically, and they help me personally, so I really do appreciate that. It's a great wedding gift. I'll put it to you that way. Just remember, guys, speaking of which, we're 17 days away, so it's getting real. I'll be gone for a week. I'll be in the ocean in about a week or a little more than 2 weeks, so I will not be streaming. I will try to pre-produce some content to release, but we will go on a limited schedule, obviously, because I'll be on a honeymoon. But we will gladly be back and ready to go once we return, because we'll be back right before the All-Star game. I'm hoping we get credentialed to go, and I'll hopefully get some stuff for you guys there. But obviously a lot coming up. We're going to have to be very busy on the channel, and we want you guys to be a part of it. So if you would, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe if you have not already, hit the bell for notifications. I don't know if the bell's working, but hit it anyway, because some of you guys don't get the notifications, and I don't know why. But you know, we'll have to see. Grok has some interesting trade. We'll talk, Jonathan. We'll talk. Don't release any here. We're not giving those out for free, but we'll talk. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, a lot going on. We're going to talk trade deadline for sure over the next week or two and try to get that out. Maybe try to get some pre-made trade options prior to me going on the cruise. We'll have to see what happens. So we're headed to the Bahamas, so we'll see what happens. We're very excited. So as excited as we are to be married, I'm more excited for the cruise that comes after. Charles, I'm just messing with you, man. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. I'm just messing with you. But no, thank you guys for watching tonight. Really do appreciate it. And, you know, obviously with the wedding coming up, it's going to get busy, but always enjoy coming here. Yeah, y'all probably just need to change your name, CeeLo. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember all of them like you do. I'm going to have to try. But that all said, guys, we're going to get out of here for the night. Great Braves win. Hopefully they can do it again tomorrow night. I don't think we'll be streaming tomorrow night. If I can, I will, but I doubt it. We'll see what we can do. But obviously off to a really good start. Even if you don't win tomorrow, you don't get the sweep, it's going to be nice to know that you have already won the series going into tomorrow. But the Braves know you got to think that the back's against the wall just a little bit, right? For tomorrow, I believe it's Spencer Strider on the mound. It is taking on Clay Holmes. Strider looked really good in his last outing, 13 strikeouts. ERA not looking great for the season, but you know he's going to look to turn it around. So It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a great game, and the Braves are going to look for the sweep, and it's been rare that we've been able to say that this year. So excited for that, and of course we'll do what we can to update you, of course, right here at On Deck. If you have not already, again, before we go, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We really would appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our sponsors, Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. If you need a vehicle, I promise you they are the place to go. People come from all over to Opelika, Alabama to get vehicles. They have great deals. They're worth the look, I assure you. So if you're out there and you're thinking about buying Glenn Smith Chevrolet, tell them I sent you. They'll appreciate it. But that all said, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.